financial advisor, and I specialize in small business finances for entrepreneurs, and that includes money mindset and coaching, because I can give you all the technical advice in the world. If somewhere deep down you don't know how to apply it or you don't believe you can, then you're never going to succeed. I'm passionate about financial literacy and teaching for money.
And your location, Shalini?
I am located physically in Mississauga, Ontario, but what I do is completely virtual, so I can work with anybody across Canada or North America.
And then the rest of us here, so we could still have our look in the face, high, what I call high touch networking. So thank you so much for hosting us. I'm not sure where to
It feels really weird for you guys to be in my office and me not to be there with you, but I didn't get, like Christine said, I'm pretty sure he's got COVID, and I'm like, I don't want to spread that to anybody just in case, so thank you guys for being understanding of having me on your screen instead of in front of you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. So this is...
I don't know if I've had the pleasure to meet everybody in the room. I see some faces, some are cut off. But for those that don't know me, I'm a chartered professional accountant. I'm also a licensed financial advisor. So for most people, they think, blah, bookkeeping, blah, taxes, and hey.
No, because I'm terrible.
One of the things that I realized, especially during the pandemic, was that people don't know a thing about their numbers. They don't really understand when their accountant gives them stuff to sign or says you owe this much. They have no clue how that number came to be. And so I actually went back and took some more courses to become, to offer more coaching into what I do. And so now I also offer financial coaching as part of my packages, because I can give you all the technical advice in the world. If somewhere deep down you have money beliefs, they will hold you back. They will sabotage what you're doing, because that's what negative money mindset does. Now, hopefully my secretary gave you guys a worksheet. Did you guys get that?
No, we did not. No.
To make enough money. It's not okay to want more money. I don't deserve to be wealthy. If I charge too much, people won't buy from me. Success comes with too much sacrifice. Or money doesn't grow on trees. Have you guys heard of those?
Oh,
Yes, many times.
Many of them.
How many of you will admit to actually thinking those beliefs when you're looking at your numbers?
Yeah, sometimes.
So if you're in your business and these are the thoughts that are coming up, do you agree that it would then be logical that you will self-sabotage and stop yourself from thriving? Because if you make too much money, you're greedy. If you charge more, you're greedy. If I make more money, I don't know how I'm going to handle it, and I'm going to spend it all, so I might as well just not make it. These are all called limiting beliefs. They hold you back in your business. And as an accountant and financial advisor, I have seen firsthand that when my clients actually come to the table with being told some of these things, they actually are scared to be successful. Especially depending on what their history with money has been. Does anybody want to share with the group if you grew up and money was ever talked about as a family?
I'll share.
Yeah?
My dad was a trader that you have to hold on to money and be very conservative. You know, it's really hard. My investments, I'm non-risky, you know, because it's a mindset. You know, I grew up with that belief that you could be out of work at any time and you need that money. And you should always have like 2 to 3 months in the bank to just in case, right?
Yeah. And that is a great side. Sometimes the way that we grew up with money, it's also a reflection of our culture. Right? There are certain, anybody grow up with that kind of a family household, perhaps? Yep.
Yeah, I can say in our family, my father claimed that he was in control of the money, but yet he wasn't very good at it, obviously. So it was very tight, and he did control the money.
And yet, I'm willing to bet dollars. She was probably told to stay in her lane, or it's none of her business, and that he's doing his job as the man, right? There's so many gender roles that we have from a societal perspective when it comes to money as well. When I started networking 10 years ago, when I launched my business, and I'd go to networking events and I'd be talking about taxes and whatnot, the number one response I got from women was, my husband takes care of that. My husband deals with that. I don't do that. My husband deals with that. Boom, he's hit by a bus. Now who's dealing with it? So I'm an advocate that even if from a gender cultural perspective, you were not allowed to make decisions, you should still have an understanding of what's going on, because life happens. And it's so much harder to deal with a lot of the financial side of things when you're already going through a life change. You're getting a divorce. Now you think you're gonna be in a good place to be asking where our investments are? No, right? Somebody dies, you're in the hospital. Now is the time to be asking, by the way, what was your username and password? I need to log into our account. And can you send me the 2-factor authentication when it comes? No, right? Like, there was a time when everything was paper and you could open up the mail, you could get the information, but with everything being electronic, it's actually that much harder to get access to information, and therefore even more important for you to know where everything is. And that in itself can sometimes cause some difficult conversations. Why do you need to know where it is? Nothing's gonna happen to me. You're being paranoid. So how do you think we can navigate those conversations? Do you think that that's a conversation you can have without it being a fight? In the back? I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
This is Pam in the back responding.
Hi there,
Yeah.
Shalini, hi, how are you? I don't think she can hear me. So in my household, I take control of everything. That's how my mom was, and every single thing. My husband doesn't know any password or anything. So I'm thinking, keep thinking for many years, please write down something. He goes, you're here, you're not going anywhere. And I'm like, okay, I'm here, but the family needs to know. So
Can you hear her speaking?
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
perfect.
So my husband would be like, oh, nothing. So this is the opposite culture I've seen in my household. Yes, I can.
And that's not unusual that sometimes it's the wife who has to know, but usually it's one person that knows everything, and ignorance is bliss. And what I'm trying to help you guys understand is that you really want to be partners in the finances wherever possible. A big decision needs to get made. Have a conversation. Involve your children in the conversation.
Now that my son is 18, that's definitely something that we need to do. And we are talking to him more about the real world when it comes to money, because for a while the kids, of course, just thought money grew on trees. Yeah. Like, oh, we'll just go to the store and get more. Literally, my 5-year-old, well, let's go to the store and get more, Mom. Doesn't work that way, kiddo. But they have their own small business, so they understand now. But I'm curious, when it comes to having those conversations, if I'm going to use the term old school, okay? If there is people that are old school where traditionally the men handled it, the man in the household handled it, and the woman took care of other things, how do you recommend getting that conversation started with your clients? What is something that you suggest?
And so that is the hardest part of this entire scenario, because there is no one way that works for everybody. Sometimes it's just a matter of having an honest conversation, and you even using a friend as, no, did you hear about Susie? Her husband, got hurt and she had no clue where the stuff was. And I just, can you just share with me where our mortgage is, where our investments even are? If something happens to you, who would I call? Oh, nothing's, well, Susie didn't think that something would happen to her partner either, but it did, right? So if you bring an example that is kind of non-refutable, it opens the conversation. It's about being honest. Sometimes you can even, and again, I'm assuming everybody has a good relationship with their partner. I want to know where things are going. I'm not here to question you, but I feel I should have an understanding of where our investments are, where our bank accounts are. We once had a lady, old school, she didn't even know where her mortgage was. And when her husband passed, trying to find all that information was a challenge, especially now with everything being electronic versus paper. So it is about having an honest conversation, but I will also be very open with you guys. If red flags start appearing, sometimes you need to then have another party involved, whether that's a couples therapist or something, to give you more strategic guidance on how to have that conversation. Luckily, none of my clients have had it escalate to that point, but I have heard stories of people asking questions, and it uncovered gambling problems that nobody ever knew about. It uncovered other issues with finances that the person was trying to hide. So you do need to tread carefully when you are changing the status quo.
Can I also add to that, being a divorce coach?
Excellent.
I have had a lot of my clients will come in and they're so naive to what's going on. That if your marriage is not going well, knock on wood, I hope everybody stays married. But anyways, if it doesn't, if you have no clue of how to get into your accounts, get into anything, you are now setting yourself up to financially failure, okay? Because you will walk out with probably nothing, because they will have investments or know things and have things going on that you might not be familiar with, and you'd be surprised. Everybody thinks, oh no, it doesn't happen to me, or that'll never happen, or oh no, we're good, I know what's going on. You'd be surprised. So having a discussion, having a time to sit and talk and really investigate and do some of it on your own. You can talk to your financial advisor, you can talk to your bank, you can do all these things to set up, but I would suggest to introduce it together if you're married, and suggest it. But if they don't, they should not hide anything. You're married. Mm-hmm. So there shouldn't be a restriction for that person to jump in and say, yeah, let's go figure it out. Let's go talk about it. Let's get set up. Let's know what information we have. Maybe we can change something. Maybe we can make more money somewhere, or reinvest it. So just as a divorce coach, I've seen it. So
it's more of a mutual respect, right? So when this is how you grow.
Yeah.
For example, I handle everything from day one. And I remember when we got married, my husband just brought the check and gave it to me. He goes, you do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, in my household, this is how my mom did, right? But I wasn't expecting that from my husband. I thought we're both gonna do it. He goes, I'm gonna let you handle everything, and I trust you.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the trust, and then me being a woman, and I wanted to make sure that, because we're close to our kids, and I want to grow this money. I want to figure out. I want to learn more. And then even now, now my husband started to sit down and learn from me, but he's like, I trust you kind of thing, right? So, but I think it's very important. The trust component is very, very important, whether you're a male or a female.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just quickly.
And you can trust the person, but still know what's going on. This isn't about you questioning their motives. This isn't about you questioning.
I think it's mutual respect
versus, this fund.
No,
but it is about having that conversation. And so I recommend with my clients a weekly money date. Every single week. Not when you're tired, not on like a Friday night, maybe Sunday over brunch. Open up your bank statement. Conversation, you're just talking about the decisions that each of you are doing, right? It's not a judgment zone. It's not, Shalini, how much did you buy from Amazon again? No.
No, you're
I'm a little
absolutely
bit
right,
of an Amazon
Shalini. I think when I say respect is just you, both parties know what's going on. I do give you a respect. Yes, you handle this, but I should know what's going on, and I should have access to your account. I should have access to my accounts. You both should have access to everything.
True.
I think it's just that mutual respect.
Yes.
Because if something happens in any way or shape or form,
Yeah.
they need to even have access to get into your account.
Exactly.
And they need permission sometimes if it's a separate account.
That's
And then
right.
if God forbid, if something happens, and, you know, wills, I just did a thing about wills, that's why I'm bringing that up too. And, you know, if you can't get into certain people's accounts,
Yes. Totally agree.
even though it's
So one thing I recommend is you create a family email ID. And all of your accounts, everything goes to that email so that if there's a password reset or if something needs to be done, you all have access to that family email. So we've done that in our family, and that's also our family calendar email. So any of the kids' activities, anything goes into that email. And that's a great way for then all of your accounts to be kind of in one place, and you're not trying to log into somebody else's email address or, you know, authenticate to that phone number, email, right? So that is one tip that you can take away from all this as well. All this to say though, if you find that you as an individual are hesitant, you can also use this opportunity to improve upon your money mindset, right? If you're having this conversation and you're hyperventilating, you can take a moment and even write down, well, why are you hesitant about finding out this information? Why do you think you're going to make a wrong decision? And as Pam said, use it as an opportunity to learn, you know, what are the different account options that we have? Why did we pick to invest in this type of an account versus that type of account? You can also use it to empower. And so on page 2 of the worksheet, what I've done is actually take all of those negative money mindsets and switch it to a positive affirmation. Because for a lot of my clients, some of them started a business because all these things happened. Because they got divorced. Because the husband got laid off and now they were relying on her business to make things work, right? And so if you don't understand your numbers, how are you going to make your business grow and figure out what you're going to do with that extra money that you make? And that's where I advocate for even bringing your kids in the conversation. I know, Christine, you're waiting until they have their own business. My kid was the same way. Just tap it. Where's your credit card? Tap it. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. So I have young children. I've got a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And I will even ask them, okay, buddy, for your birthday, you want to do a play place? The play place is going to cost me this much money. Or we can spend it on an activity. Go to Great Wolf Lodge. And I help them understand that there's a finite amount of resources. What do you want to do with the amount that's allocated to you? You want to go on that family vacation? You want to go to Disneyland? Well, then no, we can't have McDonald's every day after work because that costs me X dollars. So you can still involve children at a very young age to understand that there's a cost benefit decision that they need to make, and short-term versus long-term benefit as well.
I agree. When my kids have had their little grass cutting business since they were, 5 years now. So my youngest was 13, my oldest was 13. And for the first year, their pay was e-transfer from clients into our account, but we weren't paying them fast enough from our account. So I went and got them bank cards, and since then EMT's e-transfers have gone to theirs. And you know what? So funny. They used to ask the same thing, go out for, milkshakes and ice creams. And then when I said, oh, it's your turn to pay, they're like, no, we can just go home. We'll have this, we'll make our own Sundays at home. So they do understand and appreciate the value of money. So I hope that I'm turning my mindset on money around for them. Because I know a lot of our money mindset comes down to us, as she was saying, from cultural, from background, and the limitations that we feel also block us, hold us back. So,
And then that, you know, if your parents were on the verge of bankruptcy, they probably tried to shield it from you, right? Or
no.
Right, but that is our first instinct, that when we are having trouble in the finances as parents, we try not to make our kids' lives change, or we try not to show it to them that mommy and daddy are having trouble. But you'd be amazed at how much they can actually participate in that, and by having open dialogue with your entire family about whatever's going on, you will inherently make better choices for the whole family. It might not be exactly where you need it to be, but you will feel more in control because you're doing it together.
I totally agree. Can I just add, I totally agree. My children, or not children, they're adults now. They're 30, my son's 36, my daughter's mom. I wish I had introduced to them at an earlier age about money. I tell people to even start younger. As Christine, you said, how old was your son when he started?
The oldest was 13.
Perfect. Like even younger than that, if you can try to even start training, I don't like that word training, but start, getting them introduced to different things like that in age appropriate, because I didn't, for various reasons, but I wish I had. That's one thing I didn't do. And now
Well,
looking
the
back.
funny thing I'll just tell you is they don't use money. They don't. They use their cards for everything. Packages come all the time to my house. They don't have credit cards, they have debit cards, but you can use those online. And they tap everything. So I show them their slips at the end of the month. I say, do you see that you spent $150 on takeout food? Because they're not doing that. They're not looking at it and going, oh, wow, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
A credit card. Now, a lot of people who are listening to debt support people will be told, no, you should use a cash diet. The reason I don't believe in a cash diet is because if you are only doing everything in cash, you're not building your credit history and your credit score. And that's going to have detriments to you in other ways. And so if you have kids, unfortunately, Christine, debit cards don't build your credit history, but a credit card does. But if you put everything on the same credit card, you can actually now export those to like an Excel document and then organize it by vendor. So I do that with my family and be like, okay, this is how much we spent on Tim Hortons. This is how much we spent on McDonald's. This is how much I spent on Amazon. This is how much, and by organizing it by vendor, it makes it easy to then add it all up. So you can export to something called a .csv. It's like an Excel file. You can open it up in Google Sheets too, right? And then what happens is you can then, whatever your budgets are, whether it's car, home, food, kids, whatever, quickly add up how much you spent in each of those categories to help you keep on top of things. And if you do this in your business, the top part can be your bookkeeping categories. Advertising this. Now, I'm going to caveat, you do need receipts for tax purposes, but for a quick and dirty bookkeeping for sole proprietors, take everything on your credit card statement and put it into those categories, and then you can see how much you've spent. Because individually, $5 here, $5 there, you don't feel it. So when you look at the grand total, that you're like, wow.
So in 2023, I went cold turkey stopping Tim Hortons, because what I realized after we did that, we downloaded the CSV of our credit cards. We're a hockey family, okay? So we're at the hockey arena like at least 6 to 9 times every week. And what's the thing you always do? Mom's got to get a tea. Well, yes, Mom got her $2 tea, but we also got Timbits. We also got somebody a sandwich. We also got somebody a lemonade. So I was spending $12 to $20 per trip. So we looked at one bill and it was $1,200 on Tim Hortons. It was crazy. So I stopped cold turkey. I actually shared about that online. It was crazy because I was pretty avid. So now I do it as a treat every once in a while. But yeah, to look at those in black and white, you go, what?
Yeah. It's an eye-opener.
And that could be...
If you use cash, keep the receipts. We all have a bad habit of not taking the receipts. So A, you need the receipts if it's a business expense. But B, even if you're not going to tap it, get the receipts and put them... You can actually buy from Amazon a wallet that has these Ziploc pouches, and then you can, if you're going to adopt more of a cash diet, you take out money from the ATM and say, this is my Tim Hortons money, this is my grass money, and you can put them into those little wallet. Ziplocs is the best way to explain it, and then every time you spend it, you get the receipt so that you can actually be accountable for where that money went. But credit card is easier, and you get points.
Yes, we do love our points. So thanks for mentioning again about, you know, getting my son his own credit card, because for 2 years he has his own credit card, but it's our credit card, right? It's Aiden Hull, but it's ours. But he's not, yeah. So now we need to get him, now that he's 18, we need to get him his own credit card.
And what you can do is, let's say he doesn't qualify on his own, because obviously the history is in yours, you can get what's called a secured credit card. So let's say he puts 500 down, he can then not exceed 500, and if he doesn't pay it off, it's kind of collateralized. But that's a good way, if he doesn't qualify for a regular credit card on his own, to do it that way.
I'm sure he's at college, so I'm sure they're just standing there. Here, you have this free T-shirt. Sign up for a credit card. Mm-hmm. Remember those days?
Yes, I did that. When I went to university,
I want that frisbee.
Here's the thing, sign up. And then I didn't realize that every time you sign up for a credit card, they check your credit history and it dings your history. So that was a really fun lesson learned by my father of like, what are you doing? But yes. Just be careful when you sign up for the fun things.
Really was really looking forward to this about money mindset. I came from having a career where I got monthly salary, everything was taken care of. This shift to self-employment was huge for me. A big lesson I learned very quickly. So I had a long career at the same place, and I accepted a severance package. It felt wonderful. Mm-hmm. I had been there a long time. Mm-hmm. I had been contributing to a pension for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I thought this was going to be my money for my startup, for my business. 1 year later when I did my taxes is I had to pay a substantial amount of taxes, which totally ate up into everything that I had spent into startup. So I had to go on a payment plan with CRA for 3 years because, again, I had worked at an institution for a long time. I'm having a really hard time with mindset because I came from I never had to sell anything or pay anything. I would work hard and the money would go into the deposit and I didn't really keep track. I did a good job of teaching my kids and gave them credit cards early and they're fine, and you know, she's 25, she got a car, she paid it off. I'm the one struggling now because I'm still in this shift of I had to pay close to $100,000 to CRA, which it was like, how long is it going to take me to pay that when I have no income? So anyways, I'm very vulnerable here, but it even frazzled me more that I was late to a session that I was really looking forward to. So my apologies. And I'm sure I missed some really important information by being
at
late.
least you made it. I'm on the screen.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll culturally experience. You have me on Instagram. If you ever have any questions, you know, you can always reach out to me. Any of you, really.
And when I looked at your list, it was always, if I work hard, I will get paid. If I work hard, and now I work very hard, but I'm not getting paid. So it's a whole shift.
So what do you recommend to people who are making the transition from corporate into entrepreneurship? What would you say the breakdown is? If I bill out, let's just use $1,000 as something really simple, okay? And you know, what do I do? And let's say we are charging for GST. So we're collecting it, which means we have to remit it. Yes. So what's the kind of pattern or rhythm? Is it like take all the GST, put it in a separate bank account, take 30% of that money, put it in another separate bank account because that's your taxes owing? So give us that little breakdown for some of the folks who are just starting this journey.
So HST, it's not yours. So if you're charging $1,000, remember the HST is on top of, but it all gets deposited and paid to you at the same time. So from every, the process that I would recommend is that every month you do your bookkeeping. How much money did you make? What did you spend on? Then based on that profit number, you know that 13% of that needs to go to HST. You can put that into a separate account. And maybe somewhere between 15 to 20% of that needs to be put aside for taxes. And so this is where having that separate bank account can really help you with that mindset shift, because you can actually then, quote unquote, pay yourself net of taxes, just like your employer would. And then you know that the money that you deposited into your personal account, that's all you have to pay for your personal bills. 1. 2, you also need to understand, especially if you're in the startup phase, it's gonna take time to build that book of business. And so this is where staying on top of your numbers is going to be that lesson of, okay, when I had a job and a full-time income, we were living a lifestyle up to here. Until I get back to that level, what are some things that I'm able to cut out, sacrifice, as I build my book of business? Now, what we normally recommend to people is to go out and get a startup loan. And in your budget, your payroll should be in there. In your expenses per project, your payroll should be there. How many of you have ever worked at a vendor table? Christmas market, vendor market.
Yeah,
How many of you have
bank.
ever done one of those tables?
Yes, we do.
Hands up.
Long time.
Yes.
Right? The biggest mistake that I always see people making when they're kind of figuring out how much it costs, they don't take their own time into consideration. And as you grow, if you need to hire somebody to go represent you at that vendor table, you don't put in your own cost there. Is that market actually profitable for you or not?
Hi, Shalini, sorry. I'm just
No
giving them
worries.
I'm just giving them a bigger
He's-
speaker.
Yeah, I did.
For me, I have it separated in a separate account.
Yeah.
So then that way I know what's coming in and I put it in there. And like I mentioned earlier, I do an Excel spreadsheet. So I have everything sort of laid out, all my actuals though. That's how I do it. And then I send that off to the tax guy and pray and hope that I get something back, and he does his magic. And so I do keep everything sort of organized, so, and I keep it in folders, I know what it is, and I send it out. And it's a check and balance. I mean, we're gonna pay taxes, we have to, it's the law, right? So, but if you're smart with it, you know how to balance it out, you know that it pay Peter, pay Paul, that kind of thing. So if you balance it out, it works out good, so that you can sort of write off this, and you know what I mean? Am I right, Shalini? Is that how it works? Oh, can't hear you.
Yes and no.
Oh.
First of all, I hate the fact that you called yourself small. So just
Yeah.
because you're small doesn't mean that you still can't adapt all the same kind of money mindset, right? Saying you're small is in itself a negative mindset, because I don't have to do that, I'm too small. So I want you to definitely work on shifting that. But in terms of your Excel spreadsheet, yes, it's gonna help you track whether you made a profit or a loss, right? And that's where I'm saying, if you do your bookkeeping every single month and you actually have a loss, well, now you can take corrective action. If you've made a profit, you can start saving money in that separate bank account for the taxes. You don't know how many people I've done their taxes for. I'm like, yeah, you made a profit. And they're like, well, where is it? Just because you spent it doesn't mean you didn't earn it. But if you didn't know you made a profit and you didn't save for it, well, now taxes and paying the CRA becomes this whole thing of, where am I going to find it? Now I got to borrow, I got to go on a payment plan. And I am very much going to say, life is hard these days. Everything costs so much more money, but CRA don't care if your groceries have gone up.
But
So you have to budget in a way that factors in taxes owing.
Yeah, my tax guy keeps telling me all the time, buy RSPs in February, so that's sort of a help, right, Shalini? If you get the RSPs in February, before February 28th, or March, is it March?
March.
Or, okay.
That's helpful.
So shift
That helps. Yeah.
financial advisor hat. Yes, an RSP is going to bring down what's called your taxable income, but it will not eliminate your entire tax owing. And so we have to balance your cash flow. If you only have, let's say, $3,000 to put towards your taxes, you can't use all of that $3,000 and put it into your RSP and think that it's some magical tool that's going to eliminate your taxes owing. So sometimes it's not, I still believe putting money away and paying future you is better than paying Doug Ford and his friends. But if you only have X dollars to pay taxes, unless the RSP is taking away all your taxes owing, that may not be the best approach for your situation.
Okay,
So you have
awesome.
to,
You're talking to your accountant? Okay, what I'd like you to go through, and you did this once before at an event with us, is how to price out your products, how to know what to pay yourself. Do you remember that whole scenario?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So first and foremost, can I share my screen?
I think you are co-host.
If you make me allow me the permission, it's just a little bit easier to see it with an example. So this is actually an exercise that I do. I have a group coaching program. It's called BizBuddy, and this is actually something that I do with them in our program.
Did you get it? Did you get access?
Share.
While you're talking about your programs, you have BizBuddy, but you also have something you do every Friday, right?
So every Friday? No.
Do you?
I
thought you had a Friday 2 to 3 something.
So once a month, it's Entrepreneur Exchange, which is masterminding, similar to what you're doing with this group right here, actually. So that is masterminding, but more of a, I'm struggling with this, how do I help? Like, how do I get feasible solutions versus a topic du jour? So that I host once a month at the end of the month. It's called the Entrepreneur Exchange.
So is that the last Friday of every month?
So we just had ours. Unfortunately, I had to cancel last Friday, but that is what I do.
Okay, perfect. So we're all just taking notes. The last Friday of each month, we're gonna keep our eyes out for that mastermind that you have.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
so
all watching the spreadsheet.
Can you see my spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I take a look at all of my personal needs, my rent, my groceries, my everything, and I need $80,000 a year
Much better,
to
yeah.
be able to pay for my personal life. Okay, so this is my personal life. This is, I need to pay my rent, I need to pay my property taxes, my utilities, all that. I need $80,000 payment.
Shalini, are you able to blow up the Excel, the sheet, I should say? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We're all ladies of the age.
So if our personal needs is $80,000, now we gotta add the tax. I actually have to make $112,000 to be able to take home 80. And so, from my business, I need to be able to pay myself a salary. I'm using the word salary. If you're a sole proprietor, your profit by default is your salary. You don't do a separate payroll for yourself. And if you're incorporated, we're gonna have the salary versus dividend conversation. But basically, I'm saying the word salary, but take that with a grain of salt, okay? But then I also have operating costs. So let's say it's on average $30,000. We're a lean business, we work from home, we don't have much.
That is lean.
Well, and we can always, and this is where Excel is my BFF. If this is too low, fine. $50,000 of operating costs. We pay for rent, we pay for administrative, we pay for software, we pay for, which means my business needs to earn a minimum of $162,000 in a year to not lose money. Now you're gonna break this up, and maybe you wanna leave a little bit of a buffer. Maybe you want to have a little bit of a buffer for other expenses or for reinvesting. So we can always say, damn it, formulas are not working today.
You just did.
I'm usually better with Excel, I promise. So if $172,000, now you can break this up, and depending on how your business works, you can run different scenarios. So let's say you are a commission-based employee and your average commission is $10,000. Well, you can take 172 divided by $10,000 average commission. Yes, I put a comma. That means you need 17.2 deals. Or if the average price of a party is $50 a party, 172,000 divided by 50 means that in a year, you need 344 parties.
3,000.
Which you can divide monthly to be like, okay, 200, obviously, the numbers are way off. You wouldn't be making $50 a party. Let's say you're making $500 profit per party. That means in a month, you would need to have 28 or 29 parties in the month. So you can take that number and now break it down into the different ways that you get paid. Or just have a target that each month of I need to make at least this much money to be able to pay myself and pay my costs.
Means you can cost your products, right?
I mean, I'm just making up numbers here, right? So you're going to do this with your actual numbers. How much is your actual personal needs? How much does your business actually cost to run? $50,000. I have clients who their only overhead is like Zoom and some Google Suite and other subscriptions. They're nowhere near 50,000, right? So what are your business expenses to run your business? How much are you making in revenue, and how do you figure that out? Are you a service-based business? Do you have an hourly rate? Are you a product-based business? Do you have a per unit cost? And if you don't know the numbers, that is part of your homework then, to actually figure out how do you price yourself? Because if this, let's say 28 parties a month was unattainable, there's no way I can do enough parties to make 29. Well, now something has to give. Either you need to increase your price per unit, per party, or you have to cut out an expense. Ideally, you do both. And that's when you do the fine tuning of your budget. One of the exercises that, again, in BizBuddy that we do is actually cost controls. So this is not taxes. Your accountant is not doing this for you when you do your tax returns. This is more aligned, there's a word called fractional CFO, or what I do in my financial coaching programs. Do you even know how to understand your numbers? Do you know what to look for? Has anyone ever done an exercise like this for their business?
No.
Yeah, I do.
Any questions on this exercise?
No, we're all sitting here going, oh crap, I gotta raise my prices.
And that's a hard one. And as you're doing this exercise, have a little paper on the side to answer some questions of, what am I feeling? Do I feel overwhelmed at the thought of having to raise my prices? Why? Because people won't buy from you. There's no value in what you do. You might run away a client who can't afford you, but open up a space for somebody who can. You're gonna find as you're running through your numbers, a lot of feelings come up. This is an opportunity for you to even identify them. I apologize, my son let the dog out. Hi, this is our newest member.
She has 2 new puppies.
One is Cooper, and I've got a Penny and a Cooper.
You have 2 new infants at home now.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, 2.
And my babies were better trained. They never woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, even as babies. This one, not so much. Start wanting to play at 5 o'clock. But as I was saying, as you're doing this exercise and even thinking about raising your pricing, what goes through your mind? Because if you get afraid of, well, if I raise my prices, I'm going to lose a client. No one's going to buy it at that price. A, do a little bit of market research. Is it true that no one's going to buy it at that price? Because a lot of us have businesses that are not regulated. Right now, if you don't have a choice, if there's, if commission is set, if certain pricing is just industry standard, nobody really goes above or below, then you might not have a lot of options. But if you do have options, what are you thinking? What is coming to mind as you do that exercise? And you can start identifying some of your money mindsets as an entrepreneur. Why do you feel that you can't raise your prices? Right? Like just to start doing a little bit of market research to understand where are you currently located from that. So have you guys ever heard of a SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats?
Yeah.
Do that for your business. Where do you currently stand in terms of where your business model and what other people are offering? Sometimes, depending on your business, people don't publicly list pricing. You can always get a friend to call and ask for information. I remember when I first started out, I literally called my competitors and gave them the exact same scenario and got quotes for tax filings that were literally across the board, all over, for the exact same scenario. So that's number 1. 2, there is no rule that says you have to raise your prices for every client in the same way. So if you have somebody that is a repeat client, for example, maybe you give them a smaller increase and a brand new to you client already starts off at a package that is priced higher than an existing client is, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with that.
call it the honor system.
Well, the other thing along those lines is review the client. So I do social media management, and some clients are so easy to deal with. They don't ask for revisions. They accept everything, and it's just a pleasure. I have another one who's such a that I have to revise things. So her increase this time is going to go up much higher than my other guy. Everyone's going to go up, but I look at the amount of work, effort, and energy. Energy means a lot. Like I've fired people on energy.
Yeah.
And I hope you've done the same. But it's so, I think it's different when you have a product and the product is A and but like a necklace, right? You know that every year these things are going to go up 10%, 15%. But I think when it's a service-based business and we're doing and dealing with people, it's a little bit, there's more that goes into it.
Yeah, I have an honor system with repeated clients. I charge them whatever I charge them the original time. I don't give them a higher price.
I have a bit of a problem with that because most of my clients are now with me for 7 years.
Okay.
And if I keep the pricing at what they started with, that is...
That's
$10 an hour.
No, what I do is if it after a year,
Yeah.
right? After a year, then I say, okay, now I'm like my prices have risen, but I still give them an honor system of something a little less, only because they.
I call it the VIP.
Yeah.
VIP client, you know.
Yeah. I think
You
because
can bundle
they're loyal
services,
to
right?
me,
So
right?
for my client, if they are a VIP client because they're doing coaching with me and all that, they're not gonna maybe even see a price rise. Whereas other clients that don't do anything with me, maybe they'll see a price raise, right? So you can always bundle services so that somebody becomes a higher tier client and then gets a little bit more of a discount because of it.
Well, I look at it as like you're a mechanic. You go to the, and you've been going to him, he's loyal, he fixes my car. Today I got my oil changed, but he checked XYZ and he says, you know what, I'm not gonna charge you. I'm just gonna charge you for the oil change. So that's how I feel. If it depends, if they wanted extra stuff, then I add the extra cost. But if it's just that one-off of, hey, I'm stuck, I need your counseling on something.
So how I would
should
handle a
use the right
situation like that is in your invoice, you say, I did the extra ABC, it cost $99, but I'm gonna discount you to $0.
Yeah.
Because if you just keep adding it in, the expectation is that they just get it for free. And then when you really do need to raise your prices because you're at capacity and you can't do anymore, then you're going to be kind of shooting yourself. So
Well,
put it in there.
Yeah.
If that's your scenario where you're giving something an extra 30 minutes away or you're giving the free ebook, make sure you categorize it as value.
Good point. Yeah, I'll start doing that so that they also recognize that too. So.
Even though I'm in a regulated business, it's a different scenario. However, I always, even you increase the price, your clients will come back.
Yeah, okay, good.
You just have to have those values.
One of my
Actions louder than
always
words.
used to say, one of my coaches used to say, when the value is clear, the decision is easy.
Yes.
So assuming you're not pricing yourself out of somebody's price range completely, adding $50 or $100 to your services probably is not going to make somebody want to start a relationship with someone brand new.
Yeah.
Awesome. What other questions do we have?
GST, but people want to pay cash.
No.
No. That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
You could talk to Shalini, but me, no. Sorry,
Yeah.
this is the way my business works.
Yeah, it's too risky.
It is too risky. Yeah.
It's too. I find that too risky.
Yeah. So I've been operating a small gardening business for 4 years, and I just went over the 30,000. So this year I'm charging for GST. So it's kind of like an increase for them, and I know I'm going to get clients that are going to ask, "Can I pay cash?"
I mean, you have to give them the invoice with the
Yeah.
HST number on it, and that's it.
That's
so
it.
that's the shift.
Yeah.
You just
Stick to your
would just
guns.
take one person to just
Yeah. And it gets complex because I have independent contractors that work for me. So I have to pay them based on what I'm getting paid. And I can't do that. I can't pay you cash because somebody paid me cash.
That's
So-
why you got to raise your price. That's where that raising prices come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is an opportunity for you to work on your mindset of I am running a legitimate business
Yes.
versus a side hustle or versus a passive thing, because any legitimate business, they have HST, they have overhead, they have expenses that they need to maintain. These people are not going to the dollar store and saying, hey, if I pay you $1, can you, right?
Yeah.
So why do they do any less?
Right.
Yes, admittedly, it happens a lot in the trades, right?
Yeah.
It's a big problem in anything where they can offer you cash. So one solution possibly is that you embed HST into your pricing. You still need to, put it on the invoice and all that. But sometimes people will say it's $50 and that includes the tax. And then in your bookkeeping, you have to back out the HST component.
You have to make sure you raise your prices that 13% though to accommodate.
Two, one, if you're on the receiving end of doing something cash and they're like, okay, if you do cash, I'm not going to give you an invoice, right? If they don't put it in the books, that's the only way to hide this is if you're not putting it in the books, right? Then you're not giving an invoice, there's no coverage, right? So then the customer doesn't get the protection. So when you're doing large projects like renovations and paying for cash, they're downsizing the insurance value or insurable value. But for you, if you're not going to put it on your books because you're not charging HST, think of when you need to go for a loan, when you need to go for your mortgage renewal. Your income is not going to be where you need it to be because you've been hiding all of the cash sales that you're eating the HST on. So why do that to yourself for one client that wants to not pay HST?
My very first client said that to me because like you, I started out with, this is not a side gig, I'm going all the way. And he asked me, oh, well, can we not just do this with it? No, we can't. So if you don't want to work with me, or if you want to work with me, this is the way it's going to be. So. Okay, that's awesome. I know that some people have to go because it's 11:30. I'd like to take a group photo. Can we do that up on